Well, the police in Cranston have their own version, and we'll get to that tonight. Hi there, welcome in. I am Dan Yorke, and this is My State of Mind. I'm honored that you're watching the broadcast this evening. Every night at 7:30. We repeat at 11:30. And, of course, you can see it online at foxprovidence.com/myritv. Tonight, Joe Rodeo, who's a really talented guy and who's really got the market cornered in both directions. He's a labor lawyer, and he works for communities to argue with labor from time to time. So he's been in both dugouts, and he knows the game very well, and he's representing the Cranston Police Department. Well, he'll clarify exactly who he's representing in the Cranston Police Department, the union, over the Cranston ticket blitz and all the complications involved in that story. And so let us hustle to our rundown tonight so that we can hustle to our segments with Joe, because I'm looking forward to that. It was. Come on, man, you got to embrace the winter. Hey, this just in. The New Yorker has a piece. Did you know? This is a controversial development in trying to move 4,000 kids out of the high schools. This, in the politics of the Republican Party, is the newest strange assertion, and this cannot happen. Back to you here. Item number one, let us expand. It was 6 to 12 inches of powdery white stuff in the freezing cold. The headline, of course, you always get a headline, another winter storm rolls in. Have you noticed in June and July and August when it rains steadily, we don't really care much about it, but in the winter, it's the same kind of storm, except it's too cold for it not to stick. And I get it, it's a pain in the neck, but there's a beauty to it. Now, I have been thrashed by the staff for my video here because I didn't take it in the right direction. But I was driving on the highway last night. That's my video. I'm driving and iPhone videoing at the same time. The highway was beautiful. By the way, I did notice after I looked at the video what kind of great driving etiquette I have. See how many feet between me and the car in front of me? Because I'm a safe driver, very safe driver, very good driver. Me, very good driver. Next time I'll turn the video this way and not get the wrath of the staff. But the truth of the matter is that it was pretty last night. And yeah, it was a couple-hour drive home for some. I know it was an hour for me. And nobody likes a couple-hour drive home. Now the Chamber of Commerce is talking about having a conversation with emergency management about staggering the way we leave the city of Providence and the like. And while that seems like a creative idea, it seems to me that you can't regulate when people come and go. And you have to know that when you get on a crowded highway, it's going to be even more crowded. So you either suck it up, take an alternative route, swim across the bay, or move. Don't move. Stay. It's okay. Spring is coming. Next issue. Wow. Headline in the New York Post, Obama, some folks don't like me because I'm black. Really, Mr. President? Is this where we're taking the conversation? Fox has a brief little piece on the New Yorker piece that's just come out.
The president also touched on the complicated issue of race in the series of interviews conducted over the last few months with New Yorker editor David Remnick. Mr. Obama declaring, quote, "There's no doubt that there's some folks who just really dislike me because they don't like the idea of a black president. Now, the flip side of it is there are some black folks and maybe some white folks who really like me and give me the benefit of the doubt precisely because I'm a black president."
You know, I was thinking about this. We're going to talk about it on the radio tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to your commentary on it. I got to read the whole New Yorker piece, which I haven't yet. I think it's about 30 pages. You know, both those assertions are probably true. They're probably inarguable. I'll get more context by reading the piece, but here's my initial impression. Mr. President, why are we talking about this? Probably true, probably true. The more you raise it, the more we look at you as somebody who happens to be black. I stopped looking at you that way a long time ago. You're the president. And I think most people who want to look at you as the president. We note that you're black. I don't know what the purposefulness of this is. And I know dialogue about race is important, but sometimes empty dialogue is not constructive. Just a thought. Next item. Yeah, okay, so we got 4,000 kids, right? 4,000 kids in the system. Here's a headline. In Providence, concerns over test waiver. Well, there's a concern about test waivers all over the place, you know what I mean? But we got a lot of kids in the urban core who are challenged by passing the kneecap test, and you have to pass the kneecap test as one of 3 requirements. You got to get good grades, you have to do a portfolio, and you have to be proficient or partially proficient, let's be accurate, in order to be able to pass the kneecap test. And that's Deborah Gist, the ed commissioner, who's brought us this reform, right? So as we get nearer and nearer, we need to understand, because this class, 2014, is the first one that's susceptible to not graduating if you don't do all 3. Here's the thing. There are waivers, and we've talked about this, and somehow the public's not understanding that there are waivers in this process. But now what's an interesting new waiver is, if you are going to, and you've applied and you've been accepted to either a 2 or 4 year college, and you still haven't passed the kneecap, they will waive the kneecap because obviously the college is making a decision based on your academic preparedness. What's missing is CCRI. CCRI is an open enrollment college, and so it doesn't count. So if you've been accepted to CCRI, that doesn't give you a waiver out of the kneecap. There are folks in the Providence school system that are disturbed about this. I think there are folks throughout the state that are disturbed by this, and I think the ed commissioner's got to come back here and re-clarify what she's trying to get done here in the entire Board of Education, because a lot of the classes at CCRI, a lot of the majors require either a GED or a high school diploma in order to get into them, even though the entire institution is open enrollment. You got all that? It's a fluid situation. We shall follow up. Strange assertion in Providence. The politics of the Republican Party primary are getting a little weird now. Do we have a headline? I think we do. This is from 2 days ago. I might have used it yesterday as well. Funk campaign accused of lying in poll. I'm not really that concerned about, I mean, it's concerning, but not that concerning. You know, Ken Block says that Alan Fung had a poll out there that made inaccurate assertions. In other words, Ken Block voted for Obama. Does that change your disposition? Well, he did. Ken Block supports Obamacare. Does that change your disposition? Well, Block would argue that he didn't. And then there's other questions that reportedly were very slanted, and that's the way politics is on the ground sometimes. Okay, that's one thing. But what's been asserted by the Fung campaign is that the same polling exercise got him a 30% lead inside a Republican primary for governor and a 72% favorability rating. And I said yesterday, and I'll say again today, show me the money, show me the data. No journalist should accept this as true unless you can prove it. So there ought to be a published set of stats from the established polling company as to how those numbers came out. Patrick Sweeney, the campaign manager for Alan Fung, who's been avoiding me on the radio at least so far, went on the Buddy Cianci program. Buddy was out, Tara Granahan was in, and made this very strange assertion about the race and what Ken Block, his opponent, has got to do, or Alan's opponent, has to do to win.
Ken Block, to overcome Mayor of Cranston, Mayor Alan Fung, in a Republican primary, he has to run a dirty, nasty, all-out campaign.
That's one of the weirdest things I've ever heard. So what are they doing? They're doing one of two things. They plan on anytime Ken Block opens his mouth saying, dirty, negative, nasty, you're a dirty, negative, nasty guy, or they're giving him the playbook to beat them. Or, third, they're worried that something else is coming. I don't know, but that's one of the strangest things I've ever heard a campaign manager say at the beginning, middle, or end of a race. And finally, come on, really? Roger Goodell is come on, Roger. The commissioner of football is floating this. Here's the headline, foxnews.com. NFL reportedly considering a proposal to eliminate extra point. What? Okay, I know it's automatic for most, but you always wonder. You have that little, feeling in your gut when you get a tying touchdown with seconds left that you're going to make the conversion. Now, I know we've got specialists and everyone gets it done right. Remember when Romo kicked away the snap a couple of years ago and all heck broke loose? It happens. And under pressure, it happens. So we need the extra point. What they're proposing, check this out. What they're proposing is 7 points automatic for the touchdown. Another point for a line of scrimmage conversion, which is now 2 points, been in for 20 years, like the college version. We've had that for 20 years in the NFL, the 2-point conversion. They're thinking about making the 2-point conversion a 1-point conversion from scrimmage, and then if you miss it, subtracting a point. Stop playing with my NFL. Leave it alone. Please. I'm interested in your feedback on that, your state of mind. When we come back, Joe Rodeo, lawyer for the Cranston Police Union. He's got a story to tell. Stay with us.
My theory is it had to be someone higher up ordered it, because if the city's divided into 3 police districts, and Paul's ward is in the center district, and my ward is in the eastern district. So the people who run at the sergeant level, who run the first district, someone had to say we're doing both districts tonight, so they had to be over the sergeant.
That was Steve Steiko's theory, the counselor from the city of Cranston, back on December 18th of this year, when the story was just coming out about the Cranston ticket blitz in 2 wards, primarily, the 2 wards that 2 of the counselors who voted against the police contract live in, and da-da-da-da-da-da. And so we've had all of this discussion as to, who did it, and there were weeks and weeks and weeks that went by until we got this headline just a short while ago, back on the 10th of January. Police union leader ordered ticket blitz. Bang! They came out and said, yeah, we did it. And the lawyer for the guys, I said, yeah, we did it. It's here, Joe Rodeo. Your guys did it. Mystery solved.
Well, they didn't order a blitz, but they ordered the tickets be issued.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And so this is a classic. So we had all of this time. By the way, welcome. Good to see you. Thank you. So we've had all of this time up until that headline. Right. When it was like, oh, how did this happen? Who did it? How high did it go? Da-da-da, da-da-da. And then you guys kind of go, yeah. Why? Why all the time?
The reason for the time elapse is because we had to wait for the internal affairs investigation to be completed. We couldn't talk until it's completed. It's really improper for us to do so. We still have rules and regulations that the union and the police officers have to follow. Not the union, but the officers. So we had to wait till that was done. When that was completed, then we could talk.
Okay. We'll talk about process in a second.
Okay.
What happened?
Well, essentially, in 2006, the city was issuing 8,000 tickets a year. And that was going consistently around that level, 7,000, 8,000 tickets a year, until March 5th of 2009, when they passed an ordinance raising the fine from $15 to $50. When that happened, officers in those 2 areas that the councilman was mentioning, where the students park, the officers didn't want to ticket them anymore because a $50 ticket is a lot of money for a student, so they backed off. And those numbers dropped precipitously through 2013 to around 2,000 tickets annually. However, in July of this past year, Steve Antonucci was promoted to captain and put in charge of that area of the department.
He's also head of the patrolmen's union.
Correct.
Which is weird, but that's another conversation.
Yeah, that's a different issue, right. but he happens to be serving in both capacities. So he started receiving phone calls from the 2 councilmen and emails from City Hall and the councilman, one councilman, saying, why aren't you issuing tickets? There's a car on this street.
The councilman was Steikos,
correct.
The gentleman in the video.
Right.
Who we've had on here twice since.
Right.
Okay.
And so then what happens is he goes to a fundraising event, has a conversation with Steikos, and Steikos challenges him, and he admitted it was in the paper, said, why aren't you issuing tickets? So then in mid-October, Antonucci starts to study where the tickets are being written, saying, you're not writing any tickets in the city. You're writing less than 150 tickets a month when you were writing 150 tickets a week.
Okay, so long story made short.
Yeah.
They got their damn tickets, didn't they?
Yeah, but what came first? The tickets?
The chicken or the egg?
Right.
Which did come first?
Tickets came first on November 13th, the night of the 14th. The council then turned the contract down, but that was the finance committee. It wasn't even the council.
Oh, the vote was on what night?
The vote was on the night of the 14th at 10 o'clock, at 10 p.m.
The first batch of tickets were issued?
The night of the midnight on the 14th, 12:01, 22 hours before.
Before,
yeah.
They say the bulk of the tickets were visual to them when they woke up the morning after the vote. That's their account.
Well, 15 tickets were written on the night of the 14th, midnight to 7, because that's only when overnight parking can exist.
Right.
Then the night of the 15th, there was 60-plus tickets, and the night of the 16th.
Isn't it? Come on, Joe. I mean, listen, nobody, and you got to know how much I respect this guy, because you get straight answers, but you get advocacy. So no matter who it is you're working for, and you have got the market cornered, whether it's management in one town and labor in another, you'll do a great job. It's pretty clear still, even, and Joe gave me a whole packet of information, so I read it all through, and there have been a lot of peppering of the police department. Hey, pick up on the tickets because people are abusing their parking rights. It seems to me that no matter what the data says, they got their doggone tickets simultaneous with that vote. You want them, you got them, Toyota, right?
Let me throw something out to you. Were the tickets, they're alleging tickets were retaliation. If you were a police officer, would you write tickets to please the councilman or to displease the councilman?
This is the stuff that will be under review by the state police. But Joe's not finished because he's suing the council, and we'll talk about why that is when we come back. Stay with us.
And asked the colonel to assign temporarily an acting colonel to oversee the day-to-day operations of the department. Some members of the council have chosen to play politics with this matter.
A very disjointed message from Alan Fung on the day after the report came to him on the parking ticket blitz et al. He accepted the report, and then he moved the police chief, Marco Palumbo, to administrative leave, and then he brought the state police in to run the place. And all the while, my guest, Attorney Joe Rodeo, who's representing the Cranston Police Union at this point, is watching this fiasco. You say you waited, or Steve Antonucci, the captain, waited to take ownership of the ordering of the ticket blitz until after this internal affairs review was done. I get that.
He did it during the internal affairs interview. When asked the question, he told him he ordered
He
it.
answered.
Yes.
Okay, so he never not stood up, is what you're telling
Correct.
me, through the whole process.
Correct.
Okay, that's interesting, and weighs in his favor. But I still think it's more than coincidence, and you and I will discuss that until the cows go home. But here's the thing that's interesting: you're litigating now against the council.
Right.
Those two guys, or the whole body of the finance group that said no by a 4-3 vote. No on the police contract that was during the same time frame. Why?
4 councilmen and the finance committee, not the full council, voted not to send the contract to the full council.
Which is only 9 members large, right?
Right. So we say that's illegal because the only people who can vote the contract up or down is the fully constituted council. You can't disenfranchise the council by having a minority, or in this case 7, decide for 9.
Okay, you know what? I might accept that argument. Tell me what the precedent is in either Cranston or other communities where the finance committee acts. Do they make recommendations to the greater
Yes,
council
they do.
as
They do.
opposed to you know what, didn't get out of committee? So what Joe is saying is not unlike the House of Representatives, when a bill doesn't get out of a committee, it never gets to the floor. They kill it there.
Right.
You're saying that the committee, the finance committee of 7, a subset of the whole committee of 9, didn't send that up and killed it like it's a bill.
The police,
And that's not proper?
Right, it's against the Policeman's Arbitration Act. The Arbitration Act, in a nutshell, delegates the authority to the mayor and then to the council to approve it.
That's an interesting argument. Okay, so that's issue number 1. Issue number 2 is what?
Well, ultimately, once we prove that and do our discovery in that and find out why this conspiracy among the council was there making these outlandish allegations, then we're going to sue for libel and slander over how they defamed certain police officers. Because they basically made accusations that they had no, by his own admission, Councilman Steichel said, I believe, I suspect. You can't impugn people for that.
Counselor,
You can't.
you don't have a case there.
Oh, I do.
You don't have a case.
I do.
What patrolmen or what officers were named out in any other capacity other than through their official
Well,
work?
once the Bill of Rights, once the Internal Affairs investigation is complete, that report becomes public.
You know what? I think you may have a really easy case when it comes to the Finance Committee's harbor of that particular contract.
Well, let's see.
I'll bet you a beer you don't have a chance in hell over this other thing.
I'll bet you, too, that we find a conspiracy between councilmen and certain other people within the city to make this a political issue and founded their allegations on pure falsity.
To make what a political issue?
To make this whole ticket gate a political issue.
Well, everything's a political issue that happens
But,
inside
but
a
they,
municipality.
but they can't, they shouldn't be using the mayors running for governor against the union and the police department. The police
I
department.
don't hear a lot of that in the rhetoric. I don't know, what are you talking about?
Well, what's happened here is they're using Ticketgate to bootstrap their dislike, I suspect, of Mayor Fung, because that was the real target here. It wasn't the police union. It was to target Mayor Fung and his gubernatorial campaign.
Okay, you know, we could go all day on this. It's fascinating. And you're not going to get a better advocate. So you could weave a very credible tale or incredible tale, depending on how the viewer sees it. But tell me about the timing of the aspect of the Finance Committee. Seems to me it's a chewable argument, no doubt.
It is.
So how quickly can you make that work? Because you got no contract deal right now.
But sometime next week, we'll be filing a lawsuit in Superior Court, a declaratory judgment action, to ask the court to hold them accountable for that, and then send it to the full council.
To order it up to the full council.
Yes,
What's your projection on that vote? Do you have a feel?
Well, it was 5-4 before they voted 4-3 against it. So we believed it was going to pass 5-4. Now, with this politics going on, I don't know, honestly.
All right. As it evolves, will you come back?
Absolutely.
Good to see you, Joe.
Thank you.
Your state of mind when we come back. Stay with us. Fascinating conversation with Joe Rodeo there. I'm perplexed as to how legal counsel didn't advise the Finance Committee in Cranston as to what they should have done, but you know what, we'll follow up. By the way, your state of mind is important to us. Dial us at 228-1886, and when you leave a voicemail, we'll play it on the air. State of mind at myritv.com is the email, and of course, Dan Yorke Show, both on Facebook and on Twitter. Here's a post on Facebook regarding this squabble between Block and Fung in the GOP primary. Who cares? I don't take any stock in polls, and I wouldn't vote for either of them. This particular gentleman had a single issue in mind that I won't get into, but hey, you know what? Polls are polls, and when they're early, they matter even less. I agree. You know, I'll see you tomorrow. Deb Gist, Ed Commissioner, 7:30 on MyRITV. Bye.